Have you ever seen a moment when the most powerful person in the room suddenly becomes completely helpless, and the least expected person changes everything? Stay with me, because this story might completely change how you see intelligence, opportunity, and kindness. And if stories that touch the heart and remind us of the power of human potential inspire you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you never miss another one. The morning started like any other inside the towering glass headquarters of one of the fastest growing tech companies in the country. The building stood like a monument to ambition. Hundreds of employees moved through the hallways, carrying laptops, coffees, and the weight of tight deadlines. On the top floor, in an office surrounded by walls of glass and a breathtaking view of the city, sat the company's CEO, Daniel Reeves. Daniel was known as a brilliant businessman. He had built the company from a small startup into a billion-dollar empire. Investors trusted him, employees admired him, and competitors feared him. But that morning, something happened that none of them were prepared for. At exactly 9:17 a.m., the company's entire digital infrastructure crashed. At first, it seemed like a minor glitch. Screens froze, programs stopped responding, emails failed to send, but within minutes, panic began spreading through the building like wildfire. The company's servers controlled everything: financial transactions, client data, production pipelines, and global communications. When the system went down, everything stopped. Phones began ringing non-stop, engineers rushed into conference rooms, IT specialists typed frantically at their keyboards. Every second the system stayed down meant the company was losing thousands of dollars. Inside the CEO's office, Daniel stared at his screen in disbelief. "Why is everything offline?" he demanded. The head of IT, Marcus, wiped sweat from his forehead. "We're trying to find the source, sir. It looks like a massive system failure. How long until it's fixed?" Marcus hesitated. "We don't know yet." That was not the answer Daniel wanted. By noon, the situation had become a full crisis. The company's biggest clients were calling, demanding explanations. Social media rumors began spreading about a catastrophic cyberattack. Investors were sending urgent emails. Inside the main operations room, dozens of engineers were working together, but the tension was suffocating. Marcus spoke quietly to his team. "The central database cluster is corrupted. Something in the system architecture failed. Can we restore a backup? We tried. It's not working." Meanwhile, Daniel paced back and forth in the hallway outside the operations room. His voice grew louder with every passing minute. "How is this possible?" he shouted. "We have the best engineers in the country." No one answered. Across the building, on the quiet lower floors where executives rarely went, another part of the company continued its routine. The cleaning staff moved through empty corridors, mopping floors and emptying trash bins. One of them was a middle-aged janitor named Miguel. Miguel had worked in the building for 6 years. Most employees barely noticed him, but he took pride in his work. He arrived before sunrise every day and left long after sunset. That afternoon, however, Miguel had brought someone with him. His 12-year-old son, Leo. Leo was a quiet boy with curious eyes and an old laptop he carried everywhere. Miguel couldn't afford babysitters, so sometimes Leo stayed in the building after school while his father worked. The boy liked sitting in empty meeting rooms, exploring computer programs and reading about coding online. On that particular day, Leo noticed something unusual. The entire building felt tense. People were rushing through the hallways. Voices were raised. The atmosphere felt heavy. Eventually, Leo wandered near the operations room where dozens of engineers were staring at giant screens filled with code. The boy peeked inside. Lines of error messages were scrolling endlessly across the monitors. One engineer groaned. "This makes no sense." Leo watched quietly. He didn't fully understand the entire system, but something about the error logs caught his attention. He stepped a little closer. One of the engineers noticed him. "Hey kid, this area is restricted." Leo nodded politely and began to leave. But before he walked away, he glanced once more at the screen. Then he hesitated. Excuse me," Leo said softly. The engineers ignored him, but the boy spoke again. I think I might know what's wrong." That sentence made several engineers turn around. Marcus frowned. "What?" Leo pointed to the screen. "That error, it's repeating because the system is trying to load a corrupted indexing file." The room fell silent. One engineer chuckled. "Kid, this is an enterprise-level system. It's not something you'd understand." Leo looked embarrassed, but he quietly said, "If the index is corrupted, the database will keep crashing every time it restarts. Marcus crossed his arms. And how exactly would you fix that? Leo swallowed nervously. I'd isolate the corrupted index file and rebuild it manually. One of the engineers scoffed. That would take hours. Leo shook his head. Not if you bypass the automated recovery protocol. Marcus stared at him. Something about the boy's confidence made him pause. What's your name? Marcus asked. Leo. And where did you learn this? Online, and from practicing. Marcus glanced at the screens again. Then back at Leo. They had been stuck for hours. Nothing else had worked. Marcus sighed. Fine. Show me what you mean. Several engineers stepped aside skeptically. Leo walked up to the keyboard. His fingers hovered nervously, but once he started typing, his movements became fast and precise. Commands appeared on the screen. Windows opened. Processes terminated. A few engineers leaned closer. What is he doing? Someone whispered. Marcus watched carefully. Leo navigated through the system architecture with surprising familiarity. Then he ran a manual rebuild command. The room went completely silent. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the screens flickered. The error messages stopped. One by one, systems began reconnecting. Databases reloaded. Servers stabilized. An engineer gasped. Wait, it's coming back online. Another shouted. Core systems restored. Within seconds, cheers erupted throughout the operations room. After nearly 6 hours of total shutdown, the entire network was working again. Marcus stared at Leo in disbelief. At that exact moment, Daniel burst into the room. What's happening? Marcus slowly turned. The system is back. Daniel blinked. What? How? The engineers looked at Leo. Daniel followed their gaze. His eyes landed on the small boy standing awkwardly beside the keyboard. Marcus spoke quietly. He fixed it. Daniel frowned. This kid. Leo stepped back nervously. My dad works here, he said softly. He's one of the janitors. The room remained silent. Daniel looked at the screens confirming system stability. Then back at Leo. Something shifted in his expression. He crouched down to the boy's eye level. You saved my company today. Leo shrugged shyly. I just noticed a problem. Daniel stood up slowly. In that moment, he realized something that would change his perspective forever. Talent doesn't always wear suits. Genius doesn't always come from prestigious universities. Sometimes, it's quietly waiting in places the world forgets to look. The next morning, Daniel did something no one expected. He invited Miguel and Leo to his office. Miguel looked terrified, assuming his son had gotten into trouble. But Daniel smiled. Your son is extraordinary. Weeks later, the company announced a new scholarship program for young tech talent from low-income families. And the first recipient was Leo. Years passed. Leo eventually became one of the company's leading engineers. And every time someone asked Daniel what the smartest decision of his career was, he didn't talk about billion-dollar deals. He talked about the day a janitor's kid walked into a room full of experts, and reminded everyone that brilliance can come from anywhere. And if this story reminded you that talent and potential exist in every corner of the world, sometimes just waiting for a chance to shine, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more stories that inspire, surprise, and remind us what humanity is truly capable of.